All right, guys, this is example 4, solving equations with multiplication or division. Now, hopefully you already watched the other video. If not, go ahead and watch that first because I'm going to be going over the checklist. I already explained it in the other video, but I'm going to just be using that really quickly as we solve this. One thing that I do want to note is that I don't like how the book kind of jumps into a very difficult problem first, so I'm going to go ahead and give you a small one here. This is a division problem. Okay, how do I know this is a division? Because remember, fractions are just division. And so again, we need to go through our checklist while I solve this. And step number 1 on our checklist says simplify the left. Well, x over 2 are not like terms, so that fraction does not reduce. And I don't have anything else to combine on the left. On the right side, there's nothing there to combine, so it's already simplified. I don't have a variable on the right side, so I don't have to worry about moving x around. And so now I need to move the numbers. Now on the left side here, the only thing that's here is 2. And it is a positive 2. And a big mistake students do is they say, oh, well, that's a positive 2. I'm going to go ahead and minus 2, right? No, that is incorrect. We don't do that because it's not about it being positive or negative. It's about what is it doing or what is its relationship to the variable. And in this problem, yes, it is a positive 2, but what is that 2 doing? It is dividing into x. So it is getting divided by 2. And so in order to think about this, we now need to go ahead and do the opposite operation of that. Okay, so because this is dividing by 2, what's the opposite of dividing? Multiplying. So we are going to be multiplying both sides by 2. And what happens, and we'll discuss more about this if you're still confused, is that when I multiply both sides by 2, these eliminate. Okay, and I'm going to discuss with you guys this later in class, but there's a reason why this happens. So it eliminates on the left side. And because you multiply by the denominator, that's the key thing here, is that because we're multiplying by the denominator, what remains is my numerator. And in this case, my numerator is x. Now, I'm going to show you a whole bunch of different ways to solve these kind of problems later, but this is just a standard, typical way. So the 2's are gone, my denominator has been eliminated, and then what I do, now I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on the opposite side here. So I have to, whatever I do on the left, I do on the right. So on the left side, I multiplied by 2. On this side, I'm going to multiply by 2 as well. And 4 times 2 is 8. Okay, how do I know I'm done? X is positive and alone. There's nothing else in front of it except a positive 1. Okay, and again, you don't have to put that positive 1 there. It's implied. Last step is to go ahead and check really quick. So I'm going to check. I got 8 over 2. And what do you know? 8 divided by 2 is in fact 4. I am correct. All right, now let's go ahead and look at this problem. Now, this problem is a little bit more difficult because this is fractions, and we spent a couple days on fractions already, so hopefully you feel comfortable with this by now. So you guys should know the rules, so let's go through them. 1, no like terms on the left, no like terms on the right. I only got one variable, so I'm not moving. Now I need to move the numbers. Now, this one is kind of a tricky situation because over here, the fraction was underneath, or the x was part of the fraction. That's why it's getting divided. Over here, I want you guys to note that the 3 over 8 is outside of the x. Like it's not, the x is not in that fraction. Hopefully you guys can recognize the difference, okay? So the x is not in the fraction. So this is 3 over 8 times x. Okay, that is the difference. Over here, this is x divided by 2. Over here, this is 3 over 8 times x. So there is a difference in how I'm about to solve them, okay? Now, let's go through the motions. If this is multiplication, then how do I get rid of that? How do I undo it? I divide. However, little star here, remember we don't divide by fractions. We multiply by the what? The reciprocal. So what's going to happen is on this one, you multiply by the reciprocal. And 8 over 3 and 3 over 8 cancel out to a beautiful positive 1. That's what's over here. Again, you can put a 1 if you want, but you don't have to. And on the other side, now what we do on the left, we have to do on the right. So we have 8 over 3. Now these are multiplying, so you need to go left go to numerator, then denominator to denominator. I'm going to go ahead and do that cross reduction that I typically like to do. You don't have to, but that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to start with my first cross here. 3 and 9 are diagonal from each other. 3 can go into 9, so I'm going to reduce. 3 goes into 3 one time and into 9 3 times. So those are my new numerator and denominator. And then I'm going to do it the other diagonal. 4 goes into 8 2 times and into itself 1 time. And now I'm going to go ahead and go through. 2 times 3, those are my new numerators, is 6. And 1 times 1 is 1. But that just simplifies to 6. Okay. And then you could go ahead, obviously, and check it. And if you do 3 over 8 times 6, you do get a fraction. And that fraction reduces to 9 over 4. And I'll show you right now. If I have 3 over 8 times 6, remember this is 6 over 1 technically, right? 3 times 6 is 18, and 18 over 8 does reduce to 9 over 4. So I am correct. And I do want to identify that because in these fraction situations, I don't want you to freak out and be like, well, 18 over 8 is a 9 over 4. You have to reduce all the way in order to see if it matches. Okay? All right, this is going to be our last one for this little video. So let's go ahead and take a look here. So again, left side, no like terms, right side, no like terms. Okay. I only have one variable. I don't need to move anything. Time to move the numbers. And they kind of have this one worked out for us. So I'm going to have negative 14. How do you get rid of a negative 14? Times y. Because again, the big mistake I see is students see this and they go plus 14, plus 14. Nope. We don't do that. That's wrong. And again, that is because that's just not negative 14. That's not y minus 14. That is negative 14. What is it doing? Timesing y. So I'm going to go ahead and divide by negative 14. And then what you do on the left, that's what you do on the right. And that's what's happening in these steps. Remember, you want to make sure when you're going back, you read the steps. So it's saying to here, divide each side by the opposite one, which is negative 14. And then 42 divided by negative 14 is negative 3. And then, of course, you could check your answer, plug it back in. Negative 14 times negative 3 is, in fact, positive 42. I am correct. And what I will say is please watch your sign. Positive divided by negative is negative. But when I plug it back into here, negative times negative is positive. Everything makes sense. Okay? All right, let's actually do this one. Let me see if you guys can solve this one on your own first. All right, let's go ahead and check it. So for this one here, we have 6y equals 54. There's nothing on the left that combines, nothing on the right that combines. Okay, so check that. 2, let's go to the next step. I only got one variable, don't got to move. 3, let's move the numbers. What is that 6 doing to y? We're not doing this. Okay, that I know it's a positive 6, but what is 6 doing to y? It's not adding, it's what? Multiplying. So how do we do that? We divide. We divide. And then over here, 6 divided by 6 is a nice, beautiful, positive 1. Again, you don't have to put the 1. And then 54 divided by 6 is 9. And then plug it back in. 6 times 9 is, in fact, 54. I am correct.